Welcome back, my Battle Language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Battle Language guy, and today we have a special analysis live of King Charles' first speech that we have today. A 9-minute speech that was very emotional. In fact, one third of that speech was dedicated to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth service. That those 70 years of service that are something amazing that most of us will not be able to to do something to do that kind of achievement. Okay, let's see if everything's going. Everything is fine now. Yes. I'm have new technology here. Always testing things. So let's do this. I have no intro this time, so I want to get down to it immediately. And the first thing that I want to mention is that maybe you are seeing this frame of the video of the speech. Okay, and maybe you're seeing brighter than the versions that you saw online if you already saw the speech. We're going to go through the whole speech, but maybe you're seeing it brighter because I purposely ramped up the lighting of this video so it was easier to spot his facial expressions, and because the lighting of the original speech was a bit gloomy, it was too dark, and in fact it changed throughout all the 9 minutes. So I had to make it more stable and more brighter so you can see it much better. Okay, so that's why you're seeing this brighter than everywhere else. Okay, I don't usually change any features of the video so we can see it as is, but in this case I'm mentioning it because this video is much darker in tone, in lighting. Okay, he wanted to be really serious about this. He wanted to add this gravity to that lighting, so that's why I ramped up to be able to see his facial expressions better. And the first thing that we see on that open camera that we have, the open shot, is King Charles and Her Majesty the Queen beside him with a blue dress and a great smile. That's important to see that she was happy, she was always uplifting, and that blue is that heavenly hue, that she is ethereal, that she's with Prince Philip now. So it's nice. It's a nice symbol. And remember that everything is about symbols. Okay, someone asked me through my Twitter account that if all these details that I was mentioning, by the way, on Twitter, all this is thought in advance. And yes, for such an important message, for such an important video, every single word, every single, maybe not body language gesture, we're gonna see it right now, is taken care about. But body language is usually something that slips through those cracks, even if many people say that they are right, that every single royal gets training for body language, how to deliver a speech and everything. But we know that body language is based on emotions, and we cannot control our emotions up to the tiny detail, especially in times like this. So without further ado, let's begin. Start from the beginning. Okay, and this, as you can see, that there's a very bright video, which is not like this. Is much darker, but I just wanted to point that out. Let's play.
I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow. Throughout her life, Her Majesty the Queen, my beloved mother, was an inspiration, an example to me and to all my family.
One thing about his body language is that you will see that he usually does this subtle shaking, like shaking his head, like saying no, but it's part of his baseline. And I've mentioned many times that in English-speaking countries, both in the UK, the USA, and most English-speaking countries, they have this movement not only to say no, but only to emphasize something, to yeah, to emphasize what they're saying. So this is the case, and it's also part of his baseline, his usual, his common body language expression. So it's not that he's denying, and it's important to say that when someone is actually affirming and say yes, if you say that they're shaking their head no, that's a contradiction, which is not what is going on here. He's just talking, okay? That's the difference.
And we owe her the most heartfelt debt any family could owe to their mother, for her love, affection, guidance, understanding, and example. Queen Elizabeth was a life well lived, a promise with destiny kept.
Another thing that he's doing very well, very controlled, very serene, is the pauses. The pauses after the words, the pauses after the sentences. He's doing it exactly how it has to be done to deliver a powerful message. And I have to mention, it is important to mention that this video, the whole message, the whole video is 9 minutes long. I want to stress it because the timing of he delivering this, basically with it has some edits, but it looks like he just recorded it in one take. Of course, reading it from a teleprompter, but those pauses are the one that give that emotion. The important that is 9 minutes, exactly 9 minutes, is that 9 has a very special symbolism. In many cultures, 9 is the symbol of a higher level, of a chapter, of a new chapter. It's like an ending, but not an ending in the sense that something is finished, but an ending of a chapter and the beginning of a new chapter. That's interesting. That his speech is exactly 9 minutes long. In fact, in numerology, you can say that to any number, for example, 5, you can add 9 and you have 14. You add the 2 digits, 1 and 4, and you have 5 again. So it's like if you add 9 to any number, you are leveling it up. So that's the symbol of number 9. So I was very surprised that they took care of that, and the timing of the whole speech is not 9 and 1 second, 9 and 2 seconds, or almost 9. No, it's exactly 9 minutes. That is remarkable. And yes, and today is, thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, today is 9/9. Yes. Oh, incredible. I'm a numbers freak, and I hadn't realized that. Yeah, today is 9/9, and the speech has 9 minutes. Okay. Well, that's a lot.
And she is mourned most deeply in her passing. That promise of lifelong service I renew to you all today. Alongside the personal grief that all my family are feeling, we also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom, in all the countries where the Queen was head of state, in the Commonwealth and across the world, a deep sense of gratitude for the more than 70 years in which my mother, as Queen, served the people of so many nations. In 1947,
he makes this very subtle looking down, a very subtle gesture of looking down. That you can imagine that he's reading from a teleprompter. This is or has already been written in advance, has been checked, edited, and everything. So he's reading a speech that is already written. Maybe he wrote it himself. Maybe someone helped him with the editing, but he doesn't need to be looking away. In fact, it's prone to be losing his footing in the moving text beside him. So that's an actual. There's no editing in there. There's no cut in there. He lowers his gaze. It's like maybe he's reminiscing of other times. He's reminiscing of everything that he's talking about. Reminiscing of his mother, of course. And so even if he's talking about Her Majesty's service, it's a very emotional and touching moment for him to recall all those memories. Yes, there is sadness in his eyes. There's a lot of grief, a lot of sorrow, and we're gonna see how it amplifies as we keep on moving forward.
1947, on her 21st birthday, she pledged in a broadcast from Cape Town to the Commonwealth to devote her life, whether it be short or long, to the service of her peoples. That was...
Notice that pause there. He is like finishing the pledge, or finishing quoting the pledge made by Queen Elizabeth. And he lowers his gaze again in a very emotional way. He makes a long pause at that moment. It doesn't look on purpose, like I'm gonna do this to add gravitas to my speech. It's like he's actually feeling that. He's actually moved by, not only by those 70 years of service that came before him, but, well, the fact that it was his mother, and he's like taking that baton now, that he's the one that has that weight over his shoulders now.
That was more than a promise. It was a profound personal commitment which defined her whole life. She made sacrifices for duty. Her dedication and devotion as sovereign never wavered through times of change and progress, through times of joy and celebration, and through times of sadness and loss.
I think that was the most powerful moment of his speech in regards to the Queen, that no matter if it was times of joy and celebrations or sadness and loss, she was unwavering. She was just pushing forward. It's a very important lesson, and a great lesson for every single one of us to learn, that no matter how times are going, how our life is going, we have to keep pushing onwards.
In her life of service, we saw that abiding love of tradition, together with that fearless embrace of progress, which makes us great as nations. The affection, admiration, and respect she inspired became the hallmark of her reign. And as every member of my family can testify, she combined these qualities with warmth, humor, and an unerring ability always to see the best in people.
It's this moment when he has this glimpse, finally has this glimpse of hope, of a smile, of remember that warmth, that humor, and always to see the best in people. He has this, King Charles has always been, had that very particular smile. But in this moment, of course, of so much grief, such a difficult time, he manages to get a very subtle smile go through, remembering those moments. It's not just reading a speech. He's actually connected emotionally to each one of those words. So that's why I think he wrote this himself.
I pay tribute to my mother's memory, and I honor her life of service. I know that her death brings great sadness to so many of you, and I share that sense of loss beyond measure with you all. When the Queen came to the throne, Britain and the world were still coping with the privations and aftermath of the Second World War, and still living by the conventions of earlier times. In the course of the last 70 years, we have seen our society become one of many cultures and many faiths. The institutions of the state have changed in turn. But through all changes and challenges, our nation and the wider family of realms, of whose talents, traditions, and achievements I am so inexpressibly proud, have prospered and flourished.
Notice that this part is a bit more, less personal, more impersonal. Not saying that he's not involved in this and what he's saying, but it's much less emotional, much less personal than talking directly about his mother. So that's why he's not projecting that much emotion like the first third of the speech. Like I was telling you that the first 3 minutes of this speech, of this 9-minute speech, 1/3 of it is dedicated exclusively to Queen Elizabeth II's service.
Our values have remained and must remain constant.
And this is the kind of that words that might sound simple. It might sound simple. Our values must remain constant. I don't know what he said before this. I'm going to rewind here. Our values have remained.
Values have remained and must remain constant.
Constant. And this is an example of no matter how the world has changed, no matter how the world can get crazy, as it's getting crazier every day, our values must remain constant. That's what I like from this kind of a speech, and that's what I like from this speech, in which he's setting the tone for what's to expect from the coming years.
The role.
Okay, some of you are asking, what does the checker hanky mean? You're going to Amy, what does the checker hanky mean? Is this the handkerchief that has here? It's nice that it has a pattern. It's like a square patterns, like tiny squares. I think the might be squares, but if they're squares or they have a rhythm, a pattern, it is a symbol of order. Okay, like every single square, it's on its place, and it has that symbolism of being orderly. That might be something that he wants to project. Like it's not just a handkerchief that we can't see the pattern, because we can see the pattern clearly, and that is order. Tiny squares, every tiny square beside the other. Thanks for that question. Very spot on.
The duties of monarchy also remain, as does the sovereign's particular relationship and responsibility towards the Church of England, the church in which my own faith is so deeply rooted. In that faith and the values it inspires, I have been brought up to cherish a sense of duty to others and to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms, and responsibilities of our unique history and our system of parliamentary government.
Notice how his delivery, his frequency of words, his voice tone hasn't changed. That takes a lot of practice to have this constant frequency of speech, of delivering it in the same tone, at the same speed. That is practice. That is sheer practice, and well, he has quite a few speeches under his belt. So I guess that practice has its fruits.
As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation.
Notice that he's making a similar pledge. He's using similar words, not the same words, of course, but he's paraphrasing this. I too now solemnly pledge myself throughout the remaining time God grants me to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation. It's interesting. It's like, Queen Elizabeth said, whether if my life is short or long, in this case, Charles is leaving it to God, whatever time God grants him. Okay, so it's not up to him. So please, all of you that are campaigning for King Charles abdication, now you know what he means with these words. Okay, whatever time God grants him, well, he will be upholding the constitutional principles. So that's a clue that no, abdication campaigners, there's nothing in store for you.
God grants me to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation. And wherever you may live in the United Kingdom, or in the realms and territories across the world, and whatever may be your background or beliefs, I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty, respect, and love, as I have throughout my life. My life...
Notice that pause there. That pause is interesting in a technical way. When you're analyzing videos, it's important to spot these kind of things. He looks down, he makes a long pause, and there's a change in the camera shot from one camera to another for a closer camera. Okay,
my life.
There it goes. There it comes. And it's the same shot because he's doing the same. It's like there's one cut there, but it's not an actual cut. There's no editing there. He was continuing his speech, and well, it's like he is. Well, he had just talked about that duty. He's assuming, so this might be that weight that he's feeling of. Well, he has been preparing for this his whole life, and this is the time to shine, the moment to shine. But it will be overwhelming. So many emotions in 24 hours. I'm not saying that he's human, exactly like every single one of us. So he must be real burden at that moment. So let's give him that expression, that moment.
My life will, of course, change as I take up my new responsibility.
And notice that even if you have experience with public speaking, that they trained you on how to swallow at the right time, how to breathe and everything. You notice that he had to make a very short pause to swallow at that moment when he says, in fact, my life will of course change. Notice the swallowing.
My life will of course change
And he swallows.
as I take up my new responsibilities.
So it's part of that emotional reaction to this new role, the role that he has been training for, forming himself for his whole life.
It will no longer be possible for me to give so much of my time and energies to the charities and issues for which I care so deeply. But I know this important work will go on in the trusted hands of others. This is also a time of change for my family. I count on the loving help of my darling wife, Camilla. In recognition of her own loyal public service since our marriage 17 years ago.
He wants to make a statement. He's making a very subtle statement about Camilla, reminding that he has been a lawyer working royal for 17 years and reminding you that, well, she has earned the title that she has right now. I want to say that I tweeted Queen Consort, and I got a bit of flack saying that, well, I should call her just Queen. And, well, I think you're right, because we did not call Philip Prince Consort. We call him Prince, and that's it. So, well, I think I should change to Queen Camilla, like many of you are suggesting. I just was using the same words that Charles is about to say, and the Queen said back in right before the Jubilee celebrations of the term Queen Consort. So,
she becomes my Queen Consort.
There it is. I was using the same term. So, I could change it, of course.
I know she will bring to the demands of her new role the steadfast devotion to duty on which I have come to rely so much. As my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me.
I wanted to pause right at this moment because notice how that smile that comes when he mentions William. I'm sure that he smiled. He too smiled when he was mentioning Camilla, but I wanted to point out that this was much easier to spot right after he mentions William as his heir and taking the Scottish titles. There's that subtle smile again, that smile of hope. Okay, think that, yeah, Prince William makes him proud. You could say that Prince William makes him proud. And I got a super chat here asking an interesting question. Is that a calendar in front of him? It gives off the feeling he's making this speech from his work desk. Yeah, very good observation. Yeah, he has something that looks like a calendar in front of him. Feel they should remove it. What do you think? Well, I think it's nice that he wants to make it seem like, not make it seem like, symbolize or have the project the idea that he's giving the speech from his work desk, like he's ready to get down to it already. It's a nice touch. When the camera changes, we're going to see that item on his desk. It's a blank border and a pen holder, no calendar. Well, it makes a nice contrast with the table. We're gonna see it real soon.
He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades. Today, I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, Tywysog Cymru, the country whose...
There's that smile again, as you can spot, a very subtle smile. This is a very nice opportunity to spot those subtle changes. This is the gravity of the title. Right at this moment, he has the face of the gravitas of the title.
Tywysog Cymru.
And then that smile of the fond memories of having that title for so long. It's incredible. Decades. And he's also proud of being able to give the title to William. It's a nice touch, very beautiful. I'm sure it was not planned. It's not that controlled. It's just that he's letting himself go a bit with that emotion because he finds some solace in that.
The country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear.
That is that title. When he says title, his voice breaks a bit. Try to spot with your hearing. When he says title, his voice breaks just a bit.
Tywysog Cymru, the country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear.
A lot of emotions.
During so much of my life and duty. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
Okay, there was much, surprise online, especially on Twitter, where I'm an usual lurker, about the mentioning of Harry and Meghan and not mentioning of any titles. Just keep in mind that when he mentions Camilla, the moment he mentions Camilla, he doesn't mention any titles. That will be odd, a bit strange. When he mentions William, he doesn't mention any titles. When he mentions Catherine, he doesn't mention any titles at all. But he says Queen Consort, about Camilla, like saying that she will be getting this title now, she will be using the title, and he is creating Prince of Wales for William and Princess of Wales for Catherine. So there's a change. He is like making a statement that there's a change in the titles, or a very important change in Camilla, William, and Catherine's titles. So maybe he doesn't mention the Montecito duo's titles because, well, there is at least no change for the better. We don't know if there are going to be some stripping of the titles. There's no way of telling that from his body language or his words. The only thing that we can be sure is that he mentioned the word overseas. It's when you say, let's make this simple test, a very simple test. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives. That will be exactly the same meaning of the word. That will be exactly the same feeling that I love to express my love for Harry and Meghan, that they are building their lives. Okay, the term overseas is in fact for the sentence itself is not necessary, but he included it for a reason. It's not a dig. It's not like he's saying, well, I prefer them to be overseas, but he included that to like remind of that distance, of that gap, of whatever is separating Harry and Meghan from the monarchy and the royal family. We're going to be reviewing when he mentions William and Catherine again, but I want to point out that we are at this point. I want to address
Harry and Meghan.
I want to address the expression, his facial expression, right after he mentions Harry and Meghan.
As they continue to build their lives overseas.
He made that expression. I'm going to rewind. He made this expression overseas and then lowers his gaze, makes a very long pause, and then continues.
Lives overseas.
This expression is of profound sorrow, profound sadness. Okay? Far cry from what he felt when he mentioned William and Catherine. Of course, there's no doubt about it. But what does that sorrow come from? The only explanation I can have is that he feels sad. He feels sad, maybe he feels bad. He feels that there's something simply not right with Harry and Meghan. And maybe especially Harry. Maybe especially that distance doesn't sit well with him. Maybe he thinks he didn't expect these moments of this situation to be like this. Okay? But whatever this colliding emotions, as I put on the thumbnail, it's taking a toll on him at this moment, because this expression right after he mentions Meghan and Harry and Meghan, signals that emotion, sorrow. He feels sorrow. He's not like he doesn't think this is right. Maybe you can like mention that it's not right the way Harry has treated his family. It's not right that Harry is not close to his family. It's not right everything that Harry and Meghan are doing to smear the monarchy, the royal family, and his own blood. Is something that Charles would like to understand. He would like to say, hey, why is this happening? And this is like the weight of not being able to realizing that there's something that is a different kind of weight of being the king of England. A different kind of weight, because this is a personal emotional weight. Like, why is this happening this way. Yeah, this is not the way Charles wanted it. It's not like things have to go the way Charles wants. Sometimes things don't go the way we want, but when things go so wrong, like in this case, well, this is what you get in terms of body language. In a public speech, your first address to the country, to the world, as king, he displays this emotion after he has to mention Harry and Meghan, because Harry is his blood, after all, he's his son. Okay? He includes the word overseas to make a statement about that distance. We don't know if he thinks that things are better that way, or if he feels that Harry should be closer to home. But he feels very emotional about that. He feels a lot of sorrow about the situation, and he doesn't think this is good. I don't think King Charles has overcome whatever the Harkles have done and whatever they are planning to do in the following months with all this Arsewives podcast and Harry's memoirs. We don't know what they have in store. What can they improvise? What can Harry do now that the Queen is gone with his memoirs? We don't know. I have mentioned this from 1 year ago, and so many things that can go wrong and even worse from this point. And I know that Charles is aware of that, because I'm sure the Queen told him many times of all the implications of this. And King Charles is asking himself the question, why had this have to go so wrong? Let's go back a bit to that mention of William and Catherine. I want to point something about Ed.
Today, I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, Tywysog Cymru, the country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear during so much of my life and duty. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and...
Notice that that little like, how to say, that spontaneity in the middle of the speech. I don't know if that was included in the text he was reading, or in the actual text of the speech, but that I know is total confidence. King Charles feels total confidence that William and Catherine are up to the job. And notice that I know it's like he's proud, he's confident, he's everything about that.
Continue to inspire and lead our... With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know...
And he has that bit of a smile too. Like, I know they are the right stuff.
Duty. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given.
Again, notice that he's talking about William and Catherine, and he has this nice smile. I didn't prepare this, but it will be nice to have this, his face right now. Try to remember his face right now, that a subtle smile, that being proud of them, of their achievements. And then what happens next when he mentions the Montecito duo?
I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
This is it. You got the comparison. You got how he feels about William and Catherine, and how he feels about Harry and Meghan. It's, a distance. It's like overseas. It's a huge distance from one to another.
In a little over a week's time, we will come together as a nation, as a commonwealth, and indeed a global community, to lay my beloved mother to rest. In our sorrow, let us remember and draw strength from the light of her example. On behalf of all my family, I can only offer the most sincere and heartfelt thanks for your condolences and support. They mean more to me than I can ever possibly express. And to my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey.
Notice two things: that he makes a long pause. He twists his mouth. It's a very emotional moment for him. I don't know. I can't tell from the resolution of this video if his eyes are more shiny or he has tears on his eyes. I cannot confirm because the resolution doesn't let me. But you can see his voice, hear his voice breaking when he mentions his mama.
And to my darling Mama, as
that gesture, he's trying to contain himself, trying to not be that emotional. But yeah, it should be really tough moment. Impressive.
As you begin your last great journey.
When he says last, he's almost out of breath.
To join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this. Thank you. Thank you for your love and devotion to our family and to the family of nations you have served so diligently all these years. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Yeah, I can confirm that his eyes are much more shinier than at the start. Let me just check. Okay, this could be one moment at 1 minute. Notice the highlights. I don't know if you can spot the highlights on his left eye. And yeah, the highlights at the end, right at the end, are just a tad shiny. Let me see if I can pause this in the site. Nice. Yes, I could say that they are a bit shiner. Yeah, very emotional moment. A bit redder too. Very emotional moment. Very emotional speech. A lot of symbols, which is the most important thing, that the most important way we can communicate without words. And the words that means so much to him in regards to his mother and his sons, each in their own way, and what is expected from him in the future. Notice that he really doesn't talk about him that much. He basically he mentions, let me see, our values. And right before he makes his pledge, he talks about his stance, like for mostly a minute. So it's more about this speech was more about his mother and the future of the monarchy. What is he going to do about it? And of course, the implications of his sons in totally different dimensions. This is a lot to dissect. This is what I could see in the few hours that I had to look at this. I will try. Maybe I could take a second look and have a shorter version of this analysis. But well, maybe for tomorrow or in 2 days, until I could digest this in a better way to make a shorter version. But this is King Charles' first speech, and all the signals that are for us to interpret and read through his body language, through all the all these signals that they included on that frame, on that camera frame, and what is he communicating to the world about the current state of the royal family and what can we expect for the following months. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to open a chat tomorrow about to talk more about this, but I want to take a second look. Maybe I'll take a second look at this to see what else can I spot. Until then, my body language buddies, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and thanks for being here and joining on this great live. And until we meet in another video or another live, remember the two most important words: much love and bliss. Take care, because I love you all. Bye bye.